Welcome to solving absolute value functions. Let's get started. Today we want to know how to solve an absolute value equation. So remember, with the absolute value of, say, -5, that's 5. And the absolute value of 5 is also 5. So if we wanted to know what is x, if the absolute value of x equals 5, well then x has to be -5 or 5. It can be either one, right? Because either the -5 or the 5 will get me 5. So then we would say that if we have the absolute value of x and it equals a, right, where x is all real numbers and a is all positive real numbers, right, because the absolute value of something is always positive, then we can split this up into saying that x equals a and the negative of x equals a, right, because 5, right, and -5, if it's a negative of that, both gave me 5, both gave me the same a. So let's use that to solve an absolute value equation. The first step is to isolate the absolute value expression. So that's this part that's only the absolute value. So we're going to need to add the 3 over before we can do anything else. So I have the absolute value of x plus 2 is equal to 13. So that was my first step. Now the second step is to rewrite the absolute value as a disjunction. So that's what we just talked about in that other slide. So we can separate it. So positive x plus 2 equals 13, and also the negative of x plus 2 equals 13. So that's rewriting the absolute value as a disjunction. Then the third step is just to solve each one for x. So I can subtract the 2 here, and I get that x equals 11. That's one solving. And over here, I get negative x minus 2 equals 13 because I distributed that negative. And I can add 2. So negative x is 15. Divide by -1, x equals a -15. So I've solved both parts for x. So what that means is this x, I can plug 11 in for x and get 10. I can also plug -15 in for x. Now it's really important that you check. You're going to have to plug it in each time because it could end up that it doesn't work and then you would have not a solution. So make sure that you check your answers. You plug back in to check. So we're going to try this first example on the left, and then I'll let you try the one on the right on your own. So again, we want to isolate the absolute value part. So I'm going to subtract the 5 here. So now the absolute value of 3x equals 9. And then we break that up into the two parts. Remember, 3x equals 9 and -3x equals 9. And on this part, I can divide by 3 and find that x equals 3. And over here, I have -3x equals 9. So divide by -3, and I get x equals -3. And then remember, I'm going to plug this back in. So if I use 3 times 3 is 9. The absolute value of 9 is just 9. And 9 plus 5 is 14. So I've checked that solution and it works. Same thing here. -3 times 3 is -9. And the absolute value of -9 is +9 plus 5 equals 14. So that one works also. So these are both solutions. So go ahead and try this next example on your own. 2 times the absolute value of x plus 9 equals 26. Go ahead and pause the video, work it on your own, and then come back and you can see if you got it right. Alright, so here is how we solve this next one. Your answers should be 4 and -22. So first we isolated that absolute value expression, so we had to divide by 2. And I get the absolute value of x plus 9 is 13. And when I split that into its two parts, x plus 9 equals 13, and the negative x plus 9 equals 13. So solving the left one, subtracting 9 from both sides would mean x is 4, which is what I got here. And I did check it and it works. And hopefully you checked it too. Over here you can distribute that negative, add the 9 over, and then divide by -1. and that works also. All right, so one thing I want to show you really quickly is if you have something like the absolute value of x minus 7 plus 8 equals 5, and you wanted to solve it. Well, we know that we would need to isolate that absolute value expression and get that the absolute value of x minus 7 equals negative 3. Now, if you went through the rest of the steps and solved, you would get some answers. But remember, if you were to plug them back in this case, they wouldn't work, and I'll show you why. And that's because the absolute value of anything, once it's by itself, it cannot end up with a negative number. Remember, the absolute value of a number is always positive. It's non-negative. So this doesn't even make sense. So you could stop right here if you remember that rule, and you could just go ahead and write that there is no solution. Because there's no number you could plug in for x that would, when you took the absolute value of this, you would get a negative number. So if you can remember this, it'll save you some time. If not, that's why it's important to go back and check your solutions to make sure that they work, because you might have missed this. All right, don't forget to write your questions in your summary. Thanks for watching. Bye.